Good morning, welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Friday, December 18th, 2009. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S., 4:30 p.m. in London. In Mexico City, it's 10:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL Instant Mail address is CATEX-TV. I understand we may have a special viewer this morning in Little Silver, New Jersey, watching us. So we extend our best wishes on behalf of all of our staff to that viewer. We have a breaking story, actually, that came in just a few minutes ago. The Iraqi Foreign Ministry is saying that Iranian troops have seized an oil well in southern Iraq. The Deputy Foreign Minister said that the troops seized oil well number 4 last night, if that means anything. Apparently the Iranians are not offering any confirmation. The Iraqi Defense Department is taking some steps to try to regain control of the oil well. This occurs in the southern part of Iraq, presumably down near the Shatt al-Arab. It's part of the area where the border is in dispute. And this also is apparently not the first time that this has happened. So hopefully this is an incident that will remain simply an incident and not cause a roiling of the worldwide oil markets. Well, we'll go to our main stories then. The first story, of course, is coming from Copenhagen, where we're down to the bottom of the 9th inning. The bases are loaded. There are 2 men out, and it's a full count. And as we speak, President Obama is meeting there again today for the 3rd time today in his 9-hour visit to Copenhagen today, is meeting with world leaders trying to jumpstart this conference that's going on over there. The scene is still a madhouse outside the hall. There are still protesters, tens of thousands of them, demonstrating against the meeting that's going on, demonstrating against the inability of the countries to be able to come to a resolution on global warming. The situation that we face today is that the delegates are looking toward China and the United States, the world's 2 biggest carbon polluters, to deepen their pledges to cut emissions to salvage a deal. Obama said, we're ready to get this deal done today, but there has to be movement on all sides to recognize that it's better for us to act rather than to talk. The Chinese are telling delegates that the voluntary targets of reducing carbon intensity that they'll be held to by up to 45% will require tremendous sacrifice and efforts on their parts, but that they would honor their word with real action. President Sarkozy of France, in a speech, said progress on the climate talks was being held back by China. The lack of progress meant that President Obama changed the word agreement from his prepared text to negotiators to the word framework. Meanwhile, the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon told climate negotiators that the finishing line is in sight, reminding them that the world is watching. The news reports are still coming out minute by minute. The President apparently is meeting as we speak with the Chinese Premier. The time over there now is coming up on about 6 p.m. or so in the evening. The President's scheduled to be flying home in about 2 hours. Obama's displaying impatience today with the failure to reach a new climate accord. He said, quote, no country will get everything that it wants. Without mentioning China specifically, he addressed Beijing's resistance to making its emissions reduction pledges subject to review. Obama said, I don't know how you can have an international agreement where we're not all sharing information, making sure that we're meeting our commitments. That doesn't make sense. He says, we're running short on time. If I had to bet, I unfortunately would not bet that they're going to come out with anything that's positive. So this could be a disaster for all concerned, including the reinsurance industry, which is playing a significant role in Copenhagen. This morning at 8:15 Tokyo time, there was an earthquake, a fairly substantial one in the central part of the country. Here's the map from the USGS, the Geological Service. You see in the center part of the country, about 100 miles north of Tokyo, there was a quake. That was the 5.3. There were 100 aftershocks. You can see 2 of them, if you have good eyes, just to the southern part of Tokyo Bay. That's in the area of Yokohama. and then there was another one about 300 miles or so off to the southeast, a little bit north of Iwo Jima. The quake struck at 8:45 a.m. Tokyo time this morning, and it caused windows to shatter in office buildings. It cracked some roads and sidewalks, injured about 7 people, including a 78-year-old man who broke his hip when he fell down a stairwell that he had the misfortune to be trying to navigate in the middle of the earthquake. More than 100 tremors were recorded throughout the region into late yesterday. An initial jolt was reported. Train services were temporarily disrupted, but there was no tsunami warning, and there does not seem to have been any fatalities caused, and not a tremendous amount of injury. There was a boat sinking in the Mediterranean Sea last night off the coast of Lebanon. This particular boat here, the Danny F2, most unusual. This boat on board, in addition to some 83 passengers and crew, also had 10,224 sheep and 18,000 head of cattle. The ship was transporting these beasts from Montevideo, Uruguay in South America to Beirut, Lebanon. At least 38 people have been rescued from the ship when it capsized in stormy weather. Rescue teams from the Lebanese Navy have been rushing to the scene after the accident. They've recovered 42 people. Among them, they found 4 dead. The weather conditions were apparently appalling. British helicopters from the military base in Cyprus were trying to help with the rescue event. Apparently, the captain of the ship, a British man, has gone down. 10 minutes after the survivors jumped into the water, the ship actually capsized, and the rescue crews were surrounded by thousands of dead cattle and sheep. That made it even more difficult to rescue the crew members. A terrible scene. Meanwhile, if you've been speaking to anybody in London today, you probably know this already. The British had some pretty heavy snowfall in the southeastern part of the country. 2 of London's main airports closed overnight. Traffic chaos ensued this morning. Gatwick Airport, which is the busiest airport in Europe, was shut down overnight after it was covered in a blanket of snow. It's reopened this morning. Luton Airport, north of London, was also shut down. Heathrow, of course, ever vigilant, the world's busiest international hub, remained open throughout. Hundreds of drivers had to spend the night in their cars in Kent, down in southern England. The police in Essex reported 180 accidents. Police are warning people just simply to stay in the house. Don't come out unless they absolutely have to. Meanwhile, here in the United States, it's coming. If you're in Florida, you know this already. If you're in Georgia, you're getting ready. If you're in the Carolinas, you're probably looking for your snow shovel. And if you're in Virginia and north, get ready. There could be a blizzard coming. One of those storms is barreling up the coast. Homes are flooded right now in southern Florida. Winter storm warnings were issued today from the Carolinas, far eastern Tennessee, all the way up to New Jersey. Central Virginia could get about 18 inches of snow this weekend. Down in Miami right now, water is knee-deep in the downtown part of the city. It's more than a foot deep in Hollywood, Florida. National Weather Service predicts thunderstorms Friday morning along the North Florida coast with a potential for tornadoes and damaging wind gusts. They're expecting the snow to hit here sometime tomorrow evening, Saturday night. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. The stock market in New York is down about 34 points now. We'll go to a word from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news.
This is a representation of the CATEX Global Exchange, showing how a transaction between a broker and a market might work. Here, a market in London is looking for a way to diversify its risk, but the paperwork involved is daunting, and the market knows it is a tedious process. Fortunately, this market is a member of the CATEX Global Exchange. The market will have an access page to the exchange where it can log on and see the risks that have been posted by brokers it knows for review. Here, the market sees that 2 brokers it knows have posted opportunities. The market is interested in diversifying and may well be interested in an aircraft hull risk. The exchange allows brokers to securely make risk information available to markets that they work with. Markets can review information at their leisure before deciding whether to move forward. If, after analyzing